With me around, you are the greatest.
What?
With me around, you are the greatest.
We don't do that here.
Blue Lock, the hottest new sports anime that's giving Haiku a run for its money. Allegedly, it's about a group of aspiring football players who are recruited to participate in a special cutting-edge training program where they have to compete against each other to become the next best striker for the Japanese national team. But here's the kicker, only one striker will come out on top. Think Hunger Games, however, at the expense of your future football career. It's unlike any other sports anime I've seen, though I've only ever seen 4. But you know what they say, if you've seen one sports anime, you've seen them all. Blue Lock absolutely demolishes the shonen sports anime formula. Sportsmanship? Where? Camaraderie? Where? Power of friendship? Nowhere. Now, I don't know much about sports, especially football. I generally find it kind of boring, but when it comes to Blue Lock, it doesn't really matter if you like or understand the sport to enjoy it. The premise alone is enough to get you hyped. The drama, the tension, the losses and tears, the selfishness, backstabbing and betrayals, they had my jaw on the floor, drooling for more, and all of it interconnected with one central theme: egotism. Everything I knew, my expectations completely subverted. But before we dive into it, can I just say that I've never been more confused about the color of a lock in my life. What type of blue is it? Cobalt? Sapphire? Teal? Navy? Gray? What is it? Blue Lock presents its plot around the idea of egotism. This referring to a mindset or attitude where an athlete prioritizes their own individual success and achievements over the success of their team or the overall outcome of the game. While other sports animes often label this characteristic as defective as it affects team dynamics and performance, Blue Lock asserts that having a strong sense of egocentrism can help an athlete push themselves to perform at their best. In other words, we're witnessing a sports anime villain's origin story, a contention to find the biggest football asswipe on the field, and it's exhilarating. Blue Lock aggressively declares its viewpoint from the jump with the first episode. What makes it so compelling is how it presents these opposing philosophies through the character of Kira Ryunosuke. He is presented as a tenacious player and one who strongly adhered to the teamwork and camaraderie aspect of sports we're used to. Through a simple game of tag and intense unexpected elimination of Kira, a character I actually thought would be Isagi's biggest rival, he was used to make the point. Everyone is the protagonist of their own story. There's no definitive hero or villain, even with the protagonists we spend the most time with. Their roles are easily interchangeable. At times, Isagi's an antagonist or even a side character to another story. This is particularly evident in high-pressure games where a player may need to rely on their own mental strength and resilience to succeed. Blue Lock purposefully creates these high-pressure situations constantly, from their big games to their prison-like living conditions and elimination of other distractions. All of that to find the most egotistical player of all, to unlock their potential. Fundamentally, I think the value of egoism depends on how a player uses it, along with other factors such as teamwork, or in Blue Lock's terms, chemical reaction, because at the end of the day, you can't play football all on your own. It's about manipulating or creating conditions that allow you to shine, even if you have to use the most villainous means necessary on or even off the field. And Blue Lock characters do not disappoint in that regard. For example, our protagonist, Yoichi Isagi, he's a pretty likable character with a fierce determination and a drive to succeed that's hard not to root for. From what I observed, Isagi's character from the first episode is at the apex, where in other sports animes, the protagonist would be at the end of the story. Isagi's character arc involves him going from that strong, dependable team player to the selfish, self-centered villain that in most sports animes would be set up to fail. Isagi's ambition and ego turns out to be influential and infectious, not only forcing players around him to evolve, but at times allowing him to unintentionally control or influence the way they play during games. Due to his spatial awareness and ability to adapt to any situation thrown at him in the field, Isagi begins to intentionally create circumstances that not only allow the team to win as a whole, but to be more selfish and create opportunities to score for himself. Speaking of characters influenced by Isagi, all of them could definitely function as main characters, and that makes them quite entertaining. Meguro Bachira is essentially my favorite. Due to his over-eccentric personality and exceptional skill in football, he's bullied and left with no friends of his own. This trauma and loneliness manifests in an imaginary friend, a monster or a football monster per se, a representation of the type of real-life friend he yearns for. At Blue Lock, he meets this real-life monster in Isagi and later in Rin, and thus he starts to face and overcome his trauma, evolving into a football monster in his own right, with graceful moves that could make even a ballerina jealous. I loved Bachira because I could sort of relate to some aspects of his struggles, and thus he's my absolute favorite. Seriously, Bachira, may the odds continue to be ever in your favor. On that note of overcoming trauma, we have Hiyoma Chigiri, Blue Lock's red-headed racing snake princess. From a young age, he is presented as a natural super egoist, cocky, and the most aggressive player on the pitch. But after he tore his ACL, his ego began to waver. That and the Wanima brothers' constant harassment, he began to purposefully hold himself back, not playing for fear of injuring himself and never being able to play again. To him, losing football was equivalent to losing his identity. Only attending Blue Lock is a means to finally quit. Eventually, he is motivated by Isagi and begins to re-establish his own ego and ambition, putting everything on the line for the pure aim of becoming the best, proving to be a persistent and stubborn force on the field. With regard to suspended egos, we have Nagi, sporting a constant "I just woke up" face. He appears very lazy and unmotivated. He's an exceptionally naturally talented player. Initially, he's shown as indifferent to the sport and would rather play video games and skip training. However, after losing to Isagi's team, he finally starts to develop his own ambitions, initiated by his bruised ego. Nagi begins to strive to improve his skills and even goes as far as to destroy his friendship for it, showing that at his core, Nagi is just as much of an egoist as the rest of the players in Blue Lock, who only care about their own ambitions. Speaking of Nagi's friend, no, I don't like him. That's it. Moving on to Shohei Baro, the absolute personification of egotism, though to a fault. As the grand king of self-importance, His Majesty perceived all others on the field as the supporting cast to his main character, gracing them with his presence. Baro is the kind of player who would never pass the ball even if Jesus himself was on the field. After his figurative loss to Isagi, where he was essentially dethroned to a supportive role, Baro's ego evolves to that of a villainous nature, forcibly stealing back his throne. His extreme type of egotism may also be as a result of his perfectionism. Perfectionism is also about ego. It's about being so caught up on yourself, you're unable to see opportunities around you that could improve your own situation. This was the fault in Baro's ego that he eventually overcomes in the most unconventional way possible. While most people would dial it down a little, recognize that there are things beyond their control, Baro cranks it up to 100, leading to his villainous football playing style. Every time I think I know how the characters will evolve, this show subverts my preconceived notions of character development. And let's not forget about our coach. Is he a coach? Ego. Fitting name, might I add. Looking like he might just murder someone at any moment. With all the yelling, he sure does a great job of keeping the players in line. Yeah, he has that fear factor element to him, that's for sure. I could go on about the characters of Blue Lock, but I'll end up spoiling everything, so let's stop there and talk about The animation in Blue Lock is okay. It's great. Watching animated football players fighting for supremacy in their dystopian world. It's like a football game on LSD, and I mean that in the best possible way. The way the ball flies through the air and the players contorting their bodies to kick it is simply mesmerizing. I also love the visual symbols and metaphors enhancing the animation, like Bachira's inner monster and Isagi's spatial awareness, portrayed as puzzle pieces broken, rearranged, and put back together, illustrating his ability to adapt. The matches are action-packed and engaging and... Nope, I didn't see anything. I'm nearsighted, so my eyes must be playing tricks on me, right? 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 Blue Lock clearly offers something different in the shonen and sports anime genre, but one thing it definitely didn't do is make me want to watch actual football. I still think it's boring. Sorry, not sorry.
俺は見えてたよ、イサギ。よく決めました。
マジだ。パスサンキューな。
はい、ご褒美。
いいよ、自分で食べるから。
そう言わずどうぞ。パスを。
Wait a minute. I see what they're doing here. Trying to lure all the crazy shippers. Hope they didn't fall for it. Of course. Never mind.